Hello everyone, this is Jason Gutierrez, and welcome to the first ever show of Inconsistency. Like I said, I'm your host, Jason Gutierrez, and since this is the first show, I thought that it would be a smart idea to introduce myself first and say a little bit of what I want this channel to be. So without further ado, my name is Jason again. I'm 24. And I decided I wanted to do this show because I feel like right now we are in a time where everyone is so partisan and we're all hypocrites. Now we are all, I'm saying that, and my goal is to not be one. So in the interest of not being one, I want to point out anytime someone is and give them a little lesson in consistency, hence the name. I think I should start by saying I believe I hold the most consistent political ideology, and not me personally. I'm a libertarian, and I believe true libertarianism is the most consistent form of government or society that we can make. Unfortunately, the term libertarian means a lot. It means different things to different people. You look under the Libertarian Party, there's anything from anarcho-capitalists to anarcho-communists, which, that's a pretty wide spectrum. Not everybody can be right with such differing ideas. But I think the core of libertarianism is a truth that we should hold in society. So I think an easy way to do this would be to explain what I believe the core of libertarianism is and why that's the most consistent way to live life. The first principle most libertarians would tell you about is the non-aggression principle. And this principle isn't a pacifism. It simply means you're not going to aggress or take action against someone or their property without them doing it to you. You won't be the first aggressor. So it's perfectly fine to defend yourself in case of somebody robbing you or your family or anybody aggressing upon you or your property. The second thing, I guess, would be property rights. Libertarians believe very strongly in property rights because you own yourself, and by extension, you own the fruits of your labor. And that's basically where I'm coming in. Now, where I guess the split comes in general with libertarianism is how much government can set the rules for others. How much of it should just be private citizens interacting with each other freely, and how much of it should have, how much power should the government have? The anarcho-capitalists and communists would say no government at all. And then the minarchists, which I would assume most people are in that camp, believe just as small a government as possible. So right now, we are actually having a significant experiment in what the federal government is. Personally, I don't know if I'm ready to say I am a complete anarchist, but I do believe the federal government is far, far too powerful right now. I don't believe we should have any type of income tax. I believe that would probably be the quickest way to really drastically reduce the overreach that we have by the government in our country right now. But right now, the federal government is doing something that I'm happy about, which is they're in a shutdown. We're about a month in to the federal government being shut down. And when they say it's shut down, it really is just, it's kind of a joke. I mean, true government shutdown means, okay, all the military flies back home. No federal jobs are there. Basically the president would be no one then if it was truly shut down. They would kick him out of the place. There would be, nobody would be getting their checks yet. But the way government always makes it is if I don't think anybody's life is truly affected. I believe if, or at least in general, I understand that if you work for the government, you're not getting paid, which is a big deal to anyone. Have to assume you're going to work without being paid. But it's always only the little people. That's the problem with government. Is the government never hurts those at the top and always just progressively steps more and more on the ones lower down. And that's what's happening. So if you have just a basic government job, yeah, they're asking you to come into work and not get paid. But your congressmen, your senators, definitely the president, they're all getting paid. Anybody that does that is getting paid. But what I'm happy about is this shows that we really don't need the government. It's been a month. You would think a month without something as vital to us as the government, as vital as we make it out to be, would be life-changing. It's almost a month now. What? We should be running out of food or starving, or the water should be getting poisoned, something. And they try to scare you by saying, well, the FDA is not checking the food, and the FDA isn't checking the food, and the parks are shut down, and all of this stuff. But by far, I would have to assume everybody's okay. Which I think is a good thing, because it shows that we don't need this giant arm of the federal government. It would be beautiful if they took all the money that would be getting paid right now and just stop taking the income taxes from everybody that's working and just let everybody keep that extra money. And then people would really see, oh, you know what? No, we don't need this. We can just keep our money and let the government do its own thing, or, not have the government butt into anything. But that's not exactly how they want it. They want you to be scared. And it's a really interesting thing, because it's so dividing amongst the people. Because people like me, who believe in a very, pull yourself up by your bootstrings. I don't believe in any type of government charity. It's not charity because it's taken from somebody else. You can't steal from someone to give to somebody else and call that charity. It's not the same. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I don't believe the government should be funding anybody. I don't think they should be taxing, and if they shouldn't be taxing, then they wouldn't have any money to redistribute the way that they do. That being said, to people who see it the way I do, which is nobody should be getting government money, it's a good thing, because we're stopping that, which is a terrible incentive to put in the first place. But to somebody on the other end who's actually receiving that money, and they see it as, I need this money to eat, it really is making all the conspiracy theories that they've had truer than ever. I remember, because I was, I had food stamps or whatever. I ate off WIC and free lunch and all of that. So I hung around the people. I grew up around Chicago. I was always with my grandma at Humboldt Park, and she housing, all of that mess. So I know the culture. I know the people. And yeah, a lot of their conspiracies, because there's no conspiracy theorist funnier or more devout than the broke ones. Them broke ones in the ghetto. Oh, they believe they're all just getting robbed. And they're right. I believe so too. I believe they're being robbed of their dignity every day. They have to, they're sustaining off of some of the government, which, on one hand they'll say is just the biggest thing against them, and then the other they're taking money from, and that's a whole different story for another day. But there were a fair amount of people that were saying, one day they're gonna stop giving us food stamps, and it's gonna be the evil government. They're gonna stop giving us food stamps, and they're gonna turn the Walmarts into FEMA camps. It's starting. So now when they see Trump, which everybody, it's not important how I feel, but the way the perspective is he's just evil, racist white man. So they see evil, racist white man shut down the government, and then now they're saying that the FDA isn't going there. So people's perception is he's shutting down the government to basically ruin our lives. He's holding us hostage, is kind of the vibe that I'm getting off the internet. And I don't think it's true. But what it is going to do, going to divide everyone still further, especially considering that this is for the border wall, which, again, another thing to just racist white man. Um, these are all things that we only have two choices, I believe. We either have to come to grips and agree to see each other in the best light possible, to see our arguments in the best case scenario, see it as, okay, this guy just doesn't believe, this guy believes it's better for people not to take government money, and this person believes it's better for us to have a social safety net. If we can meet at that, then kind of accept it, that's fine. But the way it seems to be going is both sides are just looking at each other. One side is seeing people as leeches, and the other side is seeing these people as, well, I guess both sides are seeing people as leeches, because one side just thinks that the rich are leeching off of the poor, and then the other side just thinks, well, these people, these poor people aren't doing what they need to do to not be poor, and they're sustaining themselves off of my back, which both can have arguments made for them. That's the thing about most arguments, is you have to be able to play devil's advocate, but playing devil's advocate, not letting them get away, but only trying to see things through the best light, because I do believe personally most people have others' good intentions, so long as they're okay. Now the problem is, we will never be able to come together as a people if we keep dividing amongst these racial lines. Now, I think a lot of this show, like I said, I want to point out when somebody is being false, or somebody is being a hypocrite, or somebody's just in general being inconsistent. And I think that right now the media is doing just a terrible job of being consistent, or being any type of, just not being a naked hypocrite. I feel like right now it's more exposing than ever. And I have a video clip to show you how some people's ideals can't possibly hold water in the real world. They just stick to their guns, and everybody will say something when it's comfortable, and then as soon as it's not, they'll say something completely different. And here's an example of a CNN analyst. This is just a crazy video. Oh my goodness, this is so embarrassing, but it just shows you exactly where some of these people in the media are coming from.
Shouldn't their primary requirement, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of network, be that they...
So this is David Webb. I'm actually not very sure of him, but apparently he goes through his resume in the story.
They are capable of covering politics. For instance, if you're going to cover political campaigns, sports may not be the most qualified background, and that brings to the point of, if people want to get into these fields regardless of color, I've chosen to cross different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
Well, David, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people.
So you see, immediately she comes from a place of, I can't even deal with you. I don't know. So first he's like, well, this is a long conversation about white privilege. So it's like, well, duh, this is white. So basically it's just, well, duh, this is white privilege, and I don't have time to, and I can't possibly just be bothered to educate you on what you should already have a grasp on. This is just you being such a crazy, this is you just being out of line because of your blind ignorance.
Of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege.
So obviously this woman hasn't seen this man ever. She knows nothing about him. She has never seen him. She's never listened to him, apparently. She has no idea who this man is. And she's just like, well, you're a white dude, so.
This whole long conversation, I don't have time to get into it.
Ariva, I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black.
Wah, 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 wah. Imagine how embarrassing you must be. How embarrassed you must be right now. And now you have to just turn around and save face.
Okay, then I stand.
See, you went to white privilege. This is the falsehood in this. You went immediately with an assumption. Your people obviously, or you didn't look. You're talking to a black man who started out in rock radio in Boston, who crossed the paths into hip hop.
Yeah, so just really quickly before, I'll wind it back in a second, but How belittling is that? She sees like any success in this man, and she's like, "Well, obviously white. Psst, of course, he has to be white. There's no way." Like, oh, look how he's talking. He has these ideas. Psst, white dude. So because of your ideas, you're already lumped into a certain category, and I think that's one of the things that we all do. Excuse me. Yeah, that's one of the things we all do. It's like, oh, so you hold this idea? Well, of course, you're just a libtard, or you're just a racist white man, or you're a white supremacist, or you're a racist or a Nazi, or you're just a socialist, and it's like, okay, well, if every argument we get into, we're just assuming so much off the bat, we end up looking a fool like this woman just did.
Rebuilding one of the greatest black stations in America, and went on to work for Fox News, where I'm told apparently blacks aren't supposed to work, but yet you come with this assumption and you go to white privilege. That's actually insulting.
It is, and I apologize because my people gave me wrong information. They told me
the whole white privilege.
But she never goes back to defend her argument. So that means like, oh, it's my people. I'm sorry, I was misinformed. Will you forgive me? Well, it's like, but the argument that you were coming with is still the same. It doesn't matter that now I'm black. He's black. It doesn't change any of what you were just kind of assuming and implying. You're implying that, oh, well, a black man couldn't possibly do what you're doing. And it's like, well, that's belittling because you're saying that it just something I don't understand how you can live life that way. Personally, I would be so embarrassed if for whatever reason I was put into a position and then it came out years later. It's like, yeah, man, you were the best Hispanic to do that. Like, excuse me? Oh yeah, you were the best Hispanic that applied. That's why I gave you the job, or that's why I gave you the award. I would just be I would feel like a fraud. And they've turned that same emotion and flipped it and made you feel like a victim if you're not like if somebody else gets it. It's so awful, and it doesn't help anyone because like Mr. David Webb is his name. It just it makes him doubt his own achievements. I think that's the biggest issue with these lines of thinking is it makes you doubt yourself, and it makes others around you doubt your achievements with all this affirmative action and all of this idea of white privilege. And I understand that there can be arguments, but white privilege is just, I don't believe in white privilege in just, like, I don't know what you do about it. I think life gives you privileges and it gives you hardships. Everyone. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like a handsome person, I don't care who you are, a handsome person has a better life than someone who's ugly, who's hard to look at. They have more they have at least something different to overcome. I mean, hot black chick is way better than ugly white dude as far as like how easy your life can go. If you're attractive and a girl, you can be pretty certain that you're gonna eat. Ugly dude, you got work to do. And it's just, they're all different cards that you're given, and all of us, anybody who's walking, yeah, you've got ableist privilege, you've got able-bodied privilege, but what are we gonna do? Cripple everyone to make things even? It's just not. That's not life.
Privilege thing is insulting.
David, can I apologize and correct the record? I want to apologize. I was given wrong information about you, and I apologize.
But based on my color, you were going to something that I was part of, and just to add to it, my family background is white, black, Indian, Arawak, Irish, Scottish. I mean, it's so diverse. I'm like the UN when it comes to this. And this is part of the problem with driving a narrative around a construct like white privilege. Privilege is one thing where applied wealth, economy, various social factors, but not necessarily determined by color of skin.
I know that being
okay, so that's pretty much the other clip. And it's, how do these sides get along? See, where this woman works for CNN. I don't have her name. I wish it told me. It just says Martin. Her name is something Martin. Oh, I think it's Ariva Martin. Yeah. That's embarrassing. You work for CNN. First of all, how little research do you do at CNN that you can't even just type his name in Google? I'm pretty sure you hit a good images, you'll be able to figure out if he's white or black. That's just a quick one. And second of all, it doesn't matter if he's white or black, especially given your own argument. All of us agree, or at least that's what we're told to agree with, is that white people and black people are the same, or like all races are the same, we're all the same, we're all equal. Okay then, so whatever argument you're making to me, you should be able to make to the next white man, to the next black. It should be the same consistent argument regardless of who steps in front of you. So it shouldn't matter his color. Your argument should have been the same and you should be able to defend the point. But these people have become so lazy. Not only are you not checking to see if he's maybe, a black man himself, you go and your argument is simply, well, you're just privileged, so I don't even have time I couldn't possibly take the time to educate you on such basic things. Like, I don't know. Go back and, if you want, we'll do this some other time. Just such a dismissive, just a holier than thou. That's the thing. And it really is embarrassing. And we have, I don't see how, I only see these things getting worse. And, this is something that is really coming to a head soon. I don't know how, like, the next election is going to be amazing when these two sides come together and it's Trump's either, oh yeah, this is another example. Here, I've got another example to pull up. Give me 1 second. Where this article of BuzzFeed, it's literally two completely separate groups. On one side, let's see, BuzzFeed. Okay, so all right. So Mueller team disputes BuzzFeed report claiming Trump told Cohen to lie. So this is more on the Trump-Russia thing, which, unless you're living under a rock, that Donald Trump, President Trump, is being accused of and is being suspect of basically being a Russian asset. He's only elected because of Russia. He's been colluding with Russia is the thing that we've been being told back and they've been telling this for over a year. He's going to be impeached tomorrow. It's the story we're all being told. But let's see. This is a report, and it's the media. They keep pushing it, and now even if it's becoming incredible to anybody. Where somebody would have went before, maybe a year ago, and you would have said that, sort of like, oh my God, is it true? Is it okay? I'll keep my mind open. It's been a year, nothing's been proven, and then on top of this, you're publishing articles that Mueller, so the special counsel themselves are coming out and saying, no, this didn't happen. So there's the report. Special counsel report Mueller's office on Friday issued an extraordinary statement disputing a bombshell news report that claimed President Trump directed Michael Cohen to lie about the timing of discussions over a proposed Trump Tower project in Moscow. This is quotes. BuzzFeed's description of specific statements to the special counsel's office and characterization of documents and testimony obtained by this office regarding Michael Cohen's congressional testimony are not accurate. Peter Carr, a spokesman for Mueller's office, said. Okay. So, you're a news agency. You're trying, how much of a disservice did you just do to yourself? Let's say that this is true. Let's say Trump actually is colluding with Russia and has colluded with Russia. How much of a disservice have you done to the whole case now? You've just ruined everything, because now people are, if people don't want to believe Trump is a Russian asset, they have something to point to. Right there, BuzzFeed. Like, the special counsel themselves are coming and saying, no, that's not true. They never do that. It's insanity. And you're just pushing this and pushing this and pushing this. And the people that are so blinded by hatred for Trump will take it as gospel. Tomorrow, Trump's being impeached, according to them. And the others, the people in the middle, or the people that are super Trump fans, are like, well, what's going on? Well, the people in the middle are saying, what's going on with BuzzFeed? Why are they... Like, this just came out as a lie. Can I believe BuzzFeed anymore? Putting doubt in what should be your baby, which is your news agency. You should have some interest in maintaining some facet of credibility. And then the pro-Trumpers are saying, yep, fake news. Trump's been telling us this whole time it's fake news. Fake news. You can't trust anything BuzzFeed puts out. You can't trust anything the liberal media puts out. And now where are we? Again, right here in the point where everybody's on their teams. Everybody's argument is different depending on who's in front of them. And we're never going to come into the middle. And we're compounded with such a culture of, I'm really fishing right now. I'm trying to go to the next story. But on top of the news and all the real political and the president and all these offices, we have a culture war going on too that is just it's just such a two different worlds. Even from themselves. I'm trying to find a way to get myself to this Gillette commercial that came out. I'm pretty sure everybody I'm pretty sure most people have either heard of or seen this this ad. It's about toxic masculinity, which is this new thing. Give me 1 second. Trying to find one that doesn't have everybody talking over it. That's the problem. Okay, I think this. Jeez, come on, guys, give me a video. Okay, I think this is it. All right, here we go.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual
Toxic
harassment.
masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long.
It's been going on
I can't
far
laugh
too
it
long.
off.
You were part of it.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah, that's what fathers are. They're just like,
But
oh yeah,
something
my son's being
finally
assaulted,
changed.
whatever.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie.
Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, no,
Some
dude, don't.
already are. In ways big
Yo, men, we're acting like we gonna shake it.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
And we want the men of tomorrow to be nothing like the men of today or the men of yesterday. Well, the men of yesterday made it possible for these men, but either way. How inconsistent are you as Gillette? Well, first of all, I'm going to say, probably a great ad. Probably going to make, definitely has made me take the time to put them on my channel. So that's some publicity. But just for right now, it's the perfect, it's the new thing. It's woke capitalism. That's what we're all calling it. Well, we're all, but that's what I've been hearing it called. And that's exactly what it is. This is going along the lines of the whole Kaepernick debacle where Nike put him in the ad. It's just, there's so much money in pretending to be this new progressive person, this new progressive company, as if you wouldn't have made an article or a commercial 5 years ago objectifying women and saying, "Ooh, take it, you get this shave with Gillette, and all the women will flock to you. They're just gonna want to rub on your face." That's what it is. But right now, it's time to be woke, and I don't know how there's money in this. I mean, is Gillette selling to women? Are they selling to the whatever? But that's this thing, and it's like, again, how are we supposed to be? See, it kind of goes back to what that woman was saying about his white privilege, but she said his white male privilege, and that's the same vibe that this video is coming from, where it's like, oh, your male privilege and your toxic masculinity. And I've never heard toxic femininity. And I mean, it has to exist. If toxic masculinity exists, toxic femininity should as well. And I haven't even heard. That's not a phrase. It's never been said, never been identified. So is femininity just all great? Okay, if that's your argument, at least be consistent. But no, we put Caitlyn Jenner as, you know, woman of the year. That's femininity in its massive form. Or Ronda Rousey, we make a hero, and we make all the feminine heroes just these tough women. And it's like we're just flipping the roles. It's not, because there's no such thing as toxic masculinity if a woman does it, which is inconsistent. It should be all across the board. Either this behavior is good or it's not. And by the way, yeah, it's, you know, it sucks that women have to be harassed. You know, that there's no woman, I believe, who would go through life and say, oh yeah, I've never been harassed or been made to feel uncomfortable. But by the same token, there's no man that can say, oh yeah, I lived my whole life and I was never made uncomfortable by anything. I understand women come, like, it must be hard being in the position that you are, where it's kind of vulnerable as a woman amongst men. It's, you know, it's a vulnerable spot, I suppose. But at the same time, there's a power in women, and I think I think men do in general try to go out of their way to make life easier for women. At least they used to, but now it seems that men are so unsure of themselves, and it's all just flipped. It's all just backwards. So I think that's something to think about. If we're just dividing on so many sides, we can't just be like, okay, yeah, so it's women against men, but amongst them, it's blacks against whites and Latinos against on the other side. Oh yeah, but also if you feel this way, well, forget you, and if you've done this ever in your life, you're never to be forgiven, and forget you, and how quickly we're all just ready to throw each other under the bus. I feel like we live in a culture now that is 100% just throwing people to the lions because we're all scared something's going to come back and bite us in the butt. And I think we need to give people chances for redemption nowadays. But we also need to start playing devil's advocate for the others' arguments. I think that's a good place to wrap it up for this first episode. I'm starting any feedback that you have to give me. I would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe. That would be great. Again, I'm Jason Gutierrez. Let's all try to go out there and really think about our arguments and make yourself uncomfortable in your own argument. Make your argument as hard for yourself as possible, and then see where you come through. And don't always see yourself as right, or at least don't always see others as wrong. You can see yourself as right, but don't see others as wrong always and in all ways. Okay, so guys, this has been Inconsistency. I appreciate anybody that watches this. I really hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at @BasedSammySosa. And you can follow the show at @N_consistency. I haven't tweeted anything on there, but if somebody wants to follow, I can start putting out the articles, and I might tweet out this video, and I'll start getting that working up as soon as possible. But yeah, I thank you guys very, very much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful